What is up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of the Dense Pixels podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Brad, joined by my co-host, Micah.
Hello.
There's some games this week. There's some news this week. Before we get to that, though, just a little bit of housekeeping. Don't forget to join our Discord by going to densepixels.com/fans to join our community and talk some games, talk some F1, talk some football or soccer for you filthy Americans in that group. You can check out the show on YouTube by going to youtube.com/densepixels, subscribing to us there. Of course, you can also listen to this in audio format by downloading it, as well as all of the other TNP Studio shows wherever fine podcasts can be caught. And lastly, for just $5 a month or $50 for a whole year, you can sign up for TNP Studios Premium, which gets you access to the premium slate of shows that we offer across the network, including the full episode each week of the Look Forward Political Podcast, worth its weight in gold, if I do say so myself. And as Micah finishes his Crystal Light, I will also remind you that you can help support the show by buying stuff using our Amazon link, going to densepixels.com/Amazon. So that's the housekeeping. I talked last week we talked a couple weeks ago about our initial thoughts on Starfield. I've rolled credits on Starfield now. At this point, I have beaten. Right. Yeah, I've beaten the main game. It's hard not to wade into spoilers here, so I will duck out and leave a timestamp for when you can skip ahead if you don't want Starfield spoilers, and that time is going to be at
17 minutes and 45 seconds.
But if you're here, you're okay getting spoiled for Starfield things. Micah, how far are you in Starfield?
Last mission.
Okay, so do you generally know what happens afterwards?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
It's one of the drawbacks of being a gaming dad is that you don't really get to finish things within the zeitgeist. So,
yeah.
Everyone's like, "Hey, this is what New Game Plus is," and all that. So,
yeah, okay. So here's what I'll say about the story for Starfield. I thought that the main campaign, like the main story, is underbaked. Like I feel like that nothing happens, and then like a major thing happens, and like a major revelation happens, and then kind of like you're at the end of the game, almost immediately. Yeah. like I really really when I got to right before kind of the last two missions of the game, that's when I started doing my faction quest that I wanted to do on this initial playthrough. Because it was very clear the end of the game was coming, and I just wish that they had let that part of the game breathe a little bit more and had made it more interesting. But they kind of drop a bomb on you, and then not hand wave it away, but like it's very under-explained, I guess is a good way to kind of say that. And I still don't know why, like the Starborn. Like the rando Starborn dudes are after me. Like I guess because they're trying to get the relics as well.
Yeah, they don't want you to get the relics because you don't know what you're doing.
Oh, okay.
And as far as I could piece it together, look, the story in Starfield is very much a slow burn. It's a slow burn, and then at the end of Act 2, it's a house fire.
Yeah.
and then like it's so much of a slow burn that like the decision that you have to make at the end of Act 2. Mm-hmm. I didn't know anything about that decision.
Nor did I. And that was a moment in the game. So I had encountered that before I went on the show a couple weeks ago to talk about Starfield, and that moment shocked me. Like I wasn't expecting to lose a member of my party, which apparently is different depending on which choice you make, as far as who you lose along the way. So, because it could be any of the core four, right? If I'm not mistaken,
it could be any of the core four, but you can also like tweak it so that like I didn't know you could save one or the other. Mm-hmm. The game kind of funnels you into like, this is a house fire. We got to get out of here right now. Well, as opposed to,
it's funny. I backed into the choice that I would have wanted to make anyway, because like all my three broskies were on the Eye, and Andreja was with me, and she's like, I'm gonna hang out here. And so I'm like, well, I'm going to the Eye. Like, you got this shit on lockdown. Like, I'm going to go to the Eye to make sure that none of those guys die. And then that's when Walter got attacked. Like, literally as I was leaving the lodge, Walter gets attacked. And I was like, well, I got to stop this from happening. And my choice had been sealed. Like, when you go upstairs to save Walter, like, that's it.
Yeah.
And so, but funnily enough, like, that's the choice that I wanted to make because Andreja was my love interest. So, like, I would have been really shattered to have her die. But then again, it would have made for an interesting rest of the story as well.
I think it actually works better if your love interest dies. My love interest died, but my love interest was on the Eye. And I was like, all right, well, she's capable. She knows what to do, right? Like, this is her show, right? And they paired me up with Cowboy Man. And I didn't spend a lot of time with Cowboy Man. Apparently, that's how they do it, right? Like, they pair you up with the person that you hung out with the least, and the person you spent the most time with is up on the Eye.
Yeah.
And you, depending on where you go, that's who you save. So I was like, oh, she got this on lock. So, but I do think it makes the story more. I don't know. It gives it just a little bit of like bittersweetness, which is sorely needed because I'm not a huge fan of these characters. I'm supposed to be like me and my love interest got married, right? Like I was supposed to feel something at that moment, and I didn't. And it was like when Superman died in that Man of Steel Batman v Superman movie. It was like, wow, okay. I mean, what happens next? So, but when you meet the two Starborn, the emissary is, the person you lost, I'm assuming.
Yes.
So it makes more sense for me storyline wise. Like it'd be really stupid if like Sam was the emissary for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
For me, it was Barrett. And like, that was kind of weird for me because we hadn't hung out that much. Like he was my preferred companion until Andreja came along, and then everyone else got kicked to the curb for her.
Yeah.
So that was weird. And I also thought like at first, like the emissary was like fucking with you. And then I realized that like that was legitimate, which again, like the whole story and how the different universes work is very interesting. I will say that I'm glad that I did not try to complete everything before finishing the game. And I think that just makes narrative sense for my character. And I the cool thing about like traversing dimensions is that you can play your character a completely different way in each like instance essentially. So like, this time I'll probably do like the Vanguard and the Freestar Rangers and shit like that, and do like the Law and Order playthrough, and then kind of go from there. The two faction quests that I did finish, so I did the Crimson Fleet quest, which was excellent. Literally the last three missions of that quest line are probably three of my favorite like missions in games, period. At the end of that quest line, like that's how cool the last missions were, and kind of the interactions you have. The other quest line I did was the Ryujin Industries quest line, which wasn't interesting until the very end, and even then it wasn't like over the top interesting. Like it was merely fine. It ends in a semi-interesting way, but not nearly as good. Like the Crimson Fleet quest line was awesome and better than the main story, honestly. Like if we're being honest about it.
Yeah, I get the feeling. So I stopped doing the Vanguard quest because like everybody's like plow through the main story, plow through the main story. So I'm like, all right, I'll plow through the main story. The problem with plowing through the main story is I feel like I'm very underleveled. I'm level 25, and
Yeah.
I have a shitty ship.
Yeah, there is. So I when you embark on the last mission, I will warn you that there is like a big ship battle that if you're under.
Oh, I know.
You ran into that, did you? So,
Yep.
Yeah, you're gonna want your ship to at least be leveled up halfway decently. Same with the Crimson Fleet quest, by the way. That one had a terrifyingly difficult space battle at the end of it, but fortunately I was and actually that led to a fantastic moment because like when you're depending on how the quest ends, because you have some agency in how that quest line wraps up. I basically like I was fucked because I didn't do a good enough job like gathering support during the quest line to have a good push for the final mission. And so like I was like one ship in space against like 6 enemy ships that were all like varying levels around me, and I'm just trying to fucking hold on and use all my maneuverability and all my flying the best that I could. And then at like I don't know if it was scripted this way or if this was just some, you know, Bethesda magic like happenstance that you sometimes get in these games where I'm down to like this much health on my ship. And all of a sudden like my savior comes in like fucking Han Solo from, you know, from the end of Star Wars to save the day, and let me get through to land on the vessel to do the final confrontation for the quest line, which was fucking awesome. Like that again, like the Crimson Fleet quest was just great from start to finish. And I'm looking forward to doing it again and choosing the other way that you can end that quest, which is pretty good. I will say that, and again, like the other reason that I'm glad I did at least a little bit is because like when you do get to the end of the game, they have like kind of like hey, here's how you affected this universe before you know go through the point of no return essentially. And it was kind of cool because they kind of do like the thing that they used to do at the end of 80s comedies where they would like have like a freeze frame of a character and they would tell you what happened in their lives like like afterwards. But it was just cool because it was kind of like a way to see the impact that your deeds and your exploits had on the world as you went through it. So I hope that you at least finish some faction quests before you go through there, just so that you can.
I feel like I have to. Again, I feel like I am severely under level. Like
Yeah.
I popped into that star system. First of all, the star system said like level 75. I'm like, what? Like this can't be right. Then I popped into it, and then I see all these level 30 ships just fucking mollywopping me. So, you know what? Maybe I'll go back and take care of some of them Vanguard
There you
quests.
Go. There you go. And again, like some of the other things, like you know, we talked before. I really like the weapon variety, especially as you do some of these quests and some of these faction quests. You get some really cool pieces of kit that you can equip out. Some stuff that like I kind of like the fact that the guns aren't tied to your level, just because it gives you a reason to use certain weapons for kind of the like there's a rifle that I got in like hour 15 that I still used regularly going to the end of the game. So like that part's really cool. All in all, like I said, I think it was a really I think it's really well done, but it's not going to appeal to everybody for sure. It's not even going to appeal to every Bethesda fan because I feel like that this game does feel different to me than like a Skyrim or like a Fallout. So like there's some Bethesda fans that I think won't jive with this, but then again I think there's some people like me who don't really care for Bethesda's games that really got into this. Like I played like 60 hours to get through the campaign before I went to New Game Plus.
With that feeling, I agree with you, but I think I agree for a different reason.
Mm-hmm.
What is the Elder Scrolls has a feel,
Mm-hmm.
and Fallout has a feel, but the feelings that you get between Fallout and the Elder Scrolls are more closely aligned than the feeling that you get with Starfield.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like Starfield feels, you know, they're all about like exploration, like, and then when you see these people like bust out guns and start using combat maneuvers, I'm like, yo, this really doesn't feel like your character.
Well, I think that one of the differences to me, because again, I didn't hate Skyrim, but I just didn't stick with it, is that like with Skyrim and Fallout, like you'll stumble upon things just through happenstance, and you still kind of do that in Starfield, but you really do have to seek out a lot more of of the fun that you're trying to make for yourself. Like you have to actively be like, well, let me go to this planet, and like or let me go to this space station, and there's certain places that are where there's preset things, or there's things that are scripted to happen in the game, but it's still much more active. Whereas because like Fallout and Elder Scrolls take place on a singular map, they can put those things in your path, knowing that you will more than likely like cross paths with them at some point.
I actually think I prefer one like curated map versus randomly generated. Maybe something happens, maybe something doesn't happen. Map. Like, yeah, you can land anywhere on any planet that has ground, but why? And
Yeah, I think
it's
I think that novelty wears off about 10 hours in, when you kind of realize that the stuff like the random stuff that you can find is kind of the same like 5 things, and there's not really a great reason to go across them, and it's much better just to explore the curated stuff that's in the game.
yeah. So I like Starfield, but it's not everyone like flips out over Skyrim. I thought I was gonna be like that for this.
Yeah.
And I wasn't. It's still a really good game, but it's one of those games where you really gotta kind of make your own fun. And I don't mind making my own fun, but for some reason I'm used to making my own fun in a curated sandbox. Whereas, I've seen YouTubers make their own fun by seeing if they can fly into the sun. You know what I mean?
and again, like I'm not like over the moon praising this game, but it's something that I'm gonna like return to frequently. And I'm excited to see like the different New Game Pluses, because apparently like once you get to New Game Plus 3 and on from there, like some actual crazy shit that's like very much like dimension changing can happen, to make the like the space that you're occupying a little bit more exciting. So but yeah, overall pretty good freaking show, or a pretty good game overall. I think that I came away pleasantly surprised with how much I enjoyed Starfield. Now that Starfield is done, I do regret to inform everybody that I have jumped back into Cyberpunk 2077 in the wake of the 2.0 update and Phantom Liberty coming out. Look, they fucking said that like all the reviews are saying that Phantom Liberty is literally a political spy thriller.
Why I bought it.
And it stars the guy that everyone thinks should be James Bond. So like, what the fuck? What are you gonna do? I don't have much to say on Cyberpunk yet, because I like literally before we came on, I just wrapped up playing through the prologue, which is where I left off when I played the game when it launched a couple of years ago. But I am excited to see that what I said before, like when they finally finish this game and and complete it, I would return to it. I was ready to hop back in and return to this game world. So more to come on Cyberpunk.
I'm very curious. I'm very curious to hear about your travels in Cyberpunk. Look, I debated. So I bought Phantom Liberty, debating whether or not I should just start a brand new playthrough.
That's what CDPR says you should do. So
that's what they say, but I don't know if I'm gonna do it, because I've already beaten that game twice over. So I enjoyed Cyberpunk more than I thought, but I didn't have the experience that most people had. And it wasn't the best, but the side missions kept me going, and which is weird. And I think the world is interesting. So I'm very curious, because you were hyped for this game.
I was.
And then, it turned out that it was half baked, and it just really turned you off, because as it should, right? Like
I want a full game. I want a complete game to play. Yeah.
Exactly. So I don't know if I'm going to restart, but I don't know. We'll see tomorrow. I went and bought it today, and you can play Phantom Liberty like you can stop at the point of no return.
Yeah.
So I might just do that.
Apparently, you can even like get right in there from a new game. Like they have a way that you can just
Oh,
jump into Phantom Liberty if you want to. So even though
all
they
right.
recommend not doing that, it is it is funny though because like literally when I played last time, I stopped right at like literally at the conclusion of the heist mission, and I didn't even see any of the aftermath that happened after the heist mission. But I do find it funny now, like I've seen the aftermath now, and knowing what kind of the premise is of the story of the main story. I do find it funny that they do have all these side quests that you can get mugged into. Like it definitely reeks of like Mass Effects, like
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the world's about to end, but I have
yeah.
time to go run these errands real quick.
Yeah, you got a ticking time bomb in your brain, but like you can go help these fixers real quick.
Right. So that's very amusing to me that even some of the most ambitious games can't avoid simple tropes that we had many years ago.
Right.
Micah, because you are just a sad man who can't avoid these traps that are laid out for you. You have bought and have been playing Mortal Kombat 1. So tell us about that.
Yeah, I did. The best part about Mortal Kombat is its ridiculous story for me. It's ridiculous lore. I am addicted to it. I love it. Um, but the good thing for me is I actually really enjoy playing the game, the actual fighting mechanics. The training mode is a vast improvement from what it has been. It's almost perfect. It really gets into the ins and outs of how to play Mortal Kombat specifically,
Mhm.
but it teaches you a little bit about fighting games in general, especially about frame data. Like frame data is really important in this game. Like you
In
can,
Mortal Kombat?
it is, man. I know, I know, but it really is, and it's because Mortal Kombat has the fucking block button and everything is centered around that fucking block button and what is plus and minus um you know because I can't instinctively hold back. Like I have to make a conscious effort to block,
Mhm.
and timing is super tight. Like it's super strict timing for your combos. I really need I spent hours and hours in that training mode just to get these rudimentary, like, my first combo video in like with an easy character, right? Like
So
it's
wait, does it have like does this Mortal Kombat have like cancels with a K and like one frame links and stuff like that?
it does have cancels. Most of them do.
Mhm.
But again, it's all a matter of timing. Terrence told me this a long time ago with like an Injustice game. He was like, "Yo, you just gotta it's dollar combo like Tekken,
Mhm.
but instead of like in a normal dollar combo fighting game where you press a button to kind of time each hit in the combo, you just gotta press the button as fast as you can, right?"
Mhm.
And the game even tells you that at this point. They're like, dial this combo as fast as you can, even before the animation starts for the next move.
Mhm.
Dial it in as fast as you can. And once you can wrap your head around that concept, it gets a lot easier and a lot more fun to play. And it's very like fast twitch, right? Like
Mhm.
I would not recommend this game for you.
I mean, I
Um,
wasn't planning on spending a single second on it, so don't worry about that. I've learned my lesson with NRS fighting games. They're just not my they're not my cup of tea. So
Yeah, yeah. But the story is fun. It's ridiculous. It's fun, it's ridiculous. What do they call it? A requel. It's like a seaboot. It's a requel, it's a sequel to every other game, but they hit the reset button, but they make allusions to,
mhm.
previous entries. Um it's a fun story. It really is. The differences are a little more than just skin deep, um, but not that much more,
Yeah.
right? um, Online, I played online a little bit.
Mhm.
I played. I'm 1 in 5 because I'm terrible at this game. And for the most part, like there's some quality of life things that really need to change. Like there's this whole customization thing and but you have to like pick all that stuff before you go into the online like lobbies,
Hmm.
which is weird. You can't just like pick a character, pick a costume or a color, and then go. It's kind of odd. You have to sit there and wait for matchmaking. Like you can't like queue up and then do something else. Like
Hmm.
you have to sit there and wait, which is stupid in this day and age. Um, First three matches were solid. You know, I lost all three, but they were solid. Um, and you play ranked in sets of best three of five. Like it's odd.
Rounds or matches?
Matches.
Really?
Yeah, like
That's
it's
that's a
odd,
lot
man.
of that's a lot of
That's a,
commitment for
yeah,
a
it
single
is.
online match.
And most people don't like a set doesn't like count until the first person wins three or something
Hmm.
ridiculous like that. It's weird. The next set I played, um, it was the first match was good. The next two, the second one was not that great. Like you could see some stuttering, and then the third one we just disconnected.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of there's some online like quality of life issues that need to change. But in terms of like Mortal Kombat, it's better than 11. Uh, it's I don't know if you have the it's not as annoying as 10.
Hmm.
10 is only annoying because like, oh, I have to pick this certain variation. You don't have to do that. Like you have a fully kitted out character. Um yeah, and the story's fun.
Hmm.
So if you I mean if you like Mortal Kombat, you probably are already playing it.
Yeah. It's
But
it's
yeah.
it sounds to me like the since you didn't talk about them, I guess that cameo system was just kind of there and not really.
No, the cameo system it's I'm just not good enough to utilize it effectively. The
Hmm.
cameo system is actually pretty good. There's certain things about it that I do not like, but I think the things that I don't like about it mainly like not all cameos are ambush cameos.
Hmm.
So when you have an assist, like when you play like Marvel vs. Capcom or something like that, you can just call out an assist while you are, you know, fighting, right? And you're not, and some of the cameos, you strike a pose while the cameo comes in and does their thing, which is odd to me. But because some of them aren't though, some of
Hmm.
them you can move, so it's really odd. I don't know why, but um, the cameo system can allow you to do can it basically damn near breaks the game.
Hmm.
Like you can do combos. You could start a combo with an ender that throws the opponent to the other side of the screen. And if you have like a Motaro cameo who can teleport you, and it's a fast teleport,
Hmm.
you could teleport and then come back and continue the combo. Like I've seen 60% combos in this game. Like it's fucking ridiculous. Um it's just difficult for me to grasp because
Hmm.
I'm not good with assist fighters to begin with. And this one I'm actually kind of impressed with it. Like it's not like any cameo can work for any character.
Hmm.
You just got to kind of figure it out. Like that's the thing with these games also is like they give you all the tools and they give you like, hey, here's a 3-button string, right? And you're like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's a combo. But it's all about trying to create a recipe for your combos, right?
Hmm.
Here's like back here's like back 3-1, which leads to and a launcher, right? So you go back 3-1, then you can jump up in the air and hit 2 2 2 down forward 2, right? Like that's an air combo, right? Or you can use that launcher and then stay on the ground, dash forward, uh do like one and then a special move. Like it's all about like your recipes.
Hmm.
So it's very it, it it's weird, man. I'm a Street Fighter player, yo. Like it's weird. It's weird, but it is fun. It is fun.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to take a quick break so that we can earn some coins with the K, and then we'll be right back with the news. All right, so as we predicted last week, and as the industry predicted, the Unity changes, which went over like a fart in church with the game development community out there, have been very quickly walked back by Unity. So they put out like a blog post to talk about what changes they're going to be making to this policy. They haven't done away with it completely, but they wanted to clarify some things that are changing past the original announcement that they made. First, that they confirmed that the Unity personal plan, which is used by like smaller single developers or like two-man teams, is going to stay free. And they are not going to be. They have no plans currently to charge the runtime fees on games that are built with Unity personal. Basically, the way that they're evaluating what is a small game is they're looking at how much revenue developers can make using the free version before they have to get like a pro version. The old limit used to be $100,000 for this, and now they're raising it to $200,000. They also said that this is very funny to me. They're removing the requirement that developers use the Made with Unity splash screen that you typically see when booting up a game when using their engine. Which again, I just how badly have you damaged your brand that you're just like, you know what, you don't have to show them who developed your game engine. They also said that games that have less than $1 million in revenue with over a running 12-month period would not be subjected to the runtime fees, even if they were on the pro license. And then they also said that the fee is only going to apply to games developed with the next version of Unity runtime, which is not shipping until next year. So basically, projects that are currently in development using Unity are not going to be subjected to these fees. And they also said that as long as the developers themselves don't upgrade their Unity engine, that they'll be able to stay on the terms that apply to their version of Unity as it lands today. They also clarified exactly how the runtime fee is going to work. They said for games that are going to be subjected to it, they're going to be giving developers a choice of 2.5% of their revenue share, or the calculated amount based on the number of new people engaging with the game each month. They did clarify that those numbers will be self-reported. So apparently this has been received a lot more positively by the development community. They're like the fact that, the numbers are going to be self-reported, the fact that they're giving people the choice to stay on older versions of Unity and not be subjected to these fees has been met with some positive reactions around the development space. But you weren't on last week, Micah, so you didn't get a chance to weigh in on this. Does it matter now at this point, or do you think that like the fact that this even happened in the first place is going to scare a lot of folks away from this engine?
I mean, I'm a very spiteful individual. If this was me and I saw this, I'm like, no, dude, I'm not using this anymore. I can't, man, because one, this is a walkback kinda, and it's only because they did something fucked up in the first place. I don't trust. You shouldn't trust like big corporations. I know. You're tired of hearing me say it. It's my dude. I told you, right? But like I don't know, man. I'm not. This doesn't feel like a. I don't know, man. You don't get a mulligan, man. I just. I would figure something out, but at the same time, like I don't. I'm not trying to make a game.
Yeah.
And if this was my only outlet to do so, maybe my opinion would change. But for me, no, this is a little too late, man.
Yeah.
Especially because like you're not taking everything back, right? You're not just doing a 180,
right?
So I don't know, man.
like, I think maybe if you're like a real small developer who does it part time, like it's not your day job, and it's just easier to code in Unity, the changes that they made are probably fine and like allows you to stay on there with no problem. I think if you're like a professional game developer, though, even if you're in a smaller studio, I don't see how your studio would not be investigating other engines at this point. Like finish the game that you're working on, because especially if they said that, hey, like if you're working on a game now, it's not going to be subjected to this. Finish your game there, and then like again, if Epic is smart, they are rolling out the red carpet right now to get people to license Unreal Engine as much as they possibly can. Yeah, like I said, it's a hard, like once that bell is rung, it's really hard to unring it. I give credit to Unity for not like digging their heels in and not sticking to their poor policy that they rolled out. But again, the even smarter thing to do would have been to have the consultations and ask the development community before you roll the policy out, like, hey, what are like if we did this, like how would this go, and to make them a partner in your efforts instead of just subjecting them to your whims. Just amazingly stupid. Like I still think that executives won't get by this unscathed. I think like John Rudicello, or how the fuck, like I kept saying Riticello last week, but that's not correct. I think it's Riccatello, because the C's are up front after the T's. Anyway, I think John Riccatello is probably not going to be able to survive this. Especially if it comes out that he was one of the driving factors behind it. And again, this is the guy who said, like, hey, would it be cool that if you were playing Battlefield, if you ran out of bullets, that we charged you, $1 to reload your clip? So it would not surprise me at all.
Because it's realistic, right? You got to buy bullets in real life.
That's true. On the battlefield too. No less. Like you press your Uncle Sam button and it just debits from a taxpayer's paycheck immediately. And just throw it into your gun. God damn, what a fucking stupid idiot.
Shit.
Oh my goodness. So it looks like the obstruction to Microsoft completing their nearly $69 billion acquisition of Activision Blizzard, the last obstruction has fallen. We talked a couple weeks ago about how Microsoft has said that they are going to be selling the cloud gaming rights to all of their games to Ubisoft, of all companies. And basically, so again, to reiterate, Ubisoft will have the cloud gaming rights to Microsoft's games, or well, at least to Activision Blizzard's games, and Microsoft will have to license them from Ubisoft and won't be able to monopolize them on the Microsoft platform. So like they'll be available on other streaming platforms as well if Ubisoft decides to license them out. And this apparently was good enough of a concession that the CMA is dropping their obstruction to this merger going through. They were the last holdout, essentially. So this should be completed by the deadline that was extended, which is now October 18th. So we should see this deal close now within the next couple of weeks.
Hold on, I'm looking up the definition of collusion. This is weird, man. Okay, all right, whatever you got to do to hurry up and get Mega City 1 built.
You know what? I applaud Phil for his outside of the box thinking. The man selling the cloud gaming rights to his own games. He's trying to go out there and buy Nintendo and Valve and all this other stuff. So kudos to you, Phil. I will be so happy to never have to talk about this fucking merger again, because it's been going on forever. So
is Phil becoming the Tony Khan of the video game?
No, he's much smarter than Tony Khan. Come on.
I mean, in the sense that he's like, I gotta buy all this up. I gotta buy this. I gotta buy this. I gotta buy this because I'm chasing the big dog, and I don't know what to do.
No, I think Phil can at least maintain objectivity from his post at the head of the gaming division. I
actually kind of like Phil Spencer. He comes off as affable.
Yes.
I mean, he comes off as like a guy in a suit, but there's a hoodie under that sports jacket, so he's a man of the people.
I wonder what would be the most problematic publisher that Phil Spencer could acquire, a la CM Punk joining AEW.
I mean, haven't they already done it?
I guess that's true. That's a good point. Oh, that's a fair point. I didn't know if you saw part of the FTC leaks is the statement that like Jim Ryan apparently said in an email or a text or something that Sony was going to get more value out of their $3.5 billion acquisition of Bungie than Microsoft is going to get out of the $69 billion acquisition of Activision Blizzard. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I think $3.5 billion for Bungie is pretty good value for money, but come on, Jim Ryan. What do you?
Yeah, come on, dude.
What are you doing? So there was a lot of Jeff Keighley endorsed buzz around the Callisto protocol. It was supposed to be a spiritual successor to Dead Space, being made by a lot of the folks who originally made Dead Space back in the day.
I was this close to buying it.
Yeah, well, apparently it's a good thing you didn't, because unfortunately for Striking Distance Studios, the game itself wasn't all that great, and it also happened to release right around a next-gen remake of Dead Space that was received incredibly well. So the game pretty much flopped. Basically, they expected to ship to sell 5 million copies. Their publisher expected to ship that much, and by the way, the game was published by the PUBG folks, interestingly enough. The game only sold about 2 million copies, and they spent $132 million to develop this game. So as a result of that, Glen Schofield, who was the head of Striking Distance Studios, has decided that he is leaving alongside the studio's chief operating officer and chief financial officer. Apparently, these departures were voluntary. They could be very voluntoldy. If I wasn't surprised, if I wasn't shocked. Again, look, it's kill or be killed. It feels like in the game industry now. Like, if you have a ton of money that gets put into a project and it flops like this, it's going to be tough to keep your job, fair or not fair. So
yeah. There was a lot of marketing behind this game, man.
There was, yes.
It was this was like Ubisoft amounts of marketing was being pumped into this particular game, and it almost worked on me, and it just seemed like the game was just kind of adequate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. And the unfortunate thing is that, like, what I think people are going to take from this is that what the powers that be are going to take from this is that nobody likes new IP.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because, like you said, Dead Space came out, and people would apparently much rather play a game that they've already played.
Yeah. Ironically, though, Dead Space used to be new IP that was underperforming compared to what EA wanted it to do. So, like, maybe 15 years from now, Callisto Protocol will get like a reimagined version that'll be like the bee's knees, and it'll be amazing. I was thinking about EA earlier today. Like, I was just thinking, because I know we talked a couple weeks ago about how they split their game branding from one game company to having the EA Sports division and the EA Originals division, and as a result, like, the Immortals of Avium folks, lost half of their studio talent, and BioWare had to lay off a lot of people. If I was a cynical man, I could almost look at that restructuring as purposeful to give EA an excuse to be able to point and be like, see, like, these games that, these new IPs or these niche games, like, they don't make any money. So we don't want to be in that business. You know what I mean? Like, the Jedi Survivors are fine because they're making a shitload of money, but that's a licensed game. So, like, that you can justify that. If I were cynical, I would look at EA doing that as a purposeful attempt to try to justify to themselves why it was okay to not support like single player games that aren't riddled with microtransactions. If I was skeptical. So
yeah, and that's not you at all.
not me. Couldn't be me. And more terrible layoff news. 10 folks from Crystal Dynamics, the former I guess not. They did Tomb Raider. They did a lot of stuff. And this all goes back to cost cutting at Embracer, which we talked about last week, and that's probably going to continue going onward. So. Bummer. Apparently, also Saber Interactive, also an Embracer company, has announced that they are stopping development on that Evil Dead game that came out last year, late last year. So that game hasn't even been out a year yet, and they are already not going to put out any new content for that game as well. So,
Jesus,
yeah, if you're an Embracer man, I would severely encourage you to fucking get the hell out of Dodge. So
if you are Embracer, you have to
you have been embraced.
You're right. You got to laugh at the irony of that name.
Yes.
And yeah. Hey, look, I don't know if it's still on sale.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy Marvel's Avengers for like $1.
$4.
Like
$4.
Four whole dollars.
That's right.
You
before it literally gets pulled from storefronts because it is going to get taken down. So.
You can either buy Avengers or get a cup of coffee.
Yeah, honestly, I'd rather take the cup of coffee.
You know what? It might. At least it'll keep you awake.
I feel like it's better value than Avengers at $4 a cup of Starbucks. Finally, the last bit of news this week, quite surprisingly, it was announced on the Platinum Games Twitter account that Hideki Kamiya, the director of a ton of influential games in the Platinum / Clover catalog, the Bayonetta series, Okami, Beautiful Joe, and the co-founder of Platinum Games, is leaving Platinum for pastures greener, apparently. This was surprising to me. I kind of assumed that Kamiya would always be with Platinum Games. And Platinum Games is an interesting company in and of itself. I really feel like that they occupied a space, especially through the early 2010s to the middle of that decade, kind of as this company that was making really great games, but for a very specific subset of gamers. I feel like, oddly enough, like the space that they occupied is kind of the space that From Software currently resides in right now. Like, I view those two companies very similarly, even though they don't really make similar types of games. But the rumor mill says he might end up with Shinji Mikami, who was the other co-founder of Platinum Games, who is now working at Tango Gameworks, or was working at Tango Gameworks. The rumor mill is saying that those two will find their way back together again at a new studio. But Micah, your thoughts? I know that you're much more inclined towards the Platinum catalog than I ever was in terms of the types of games they put out.
Yeah, they put out weeb games. They put out weeb games. I mean, let's not beat around the bush here. But those games were great, and I really enjoy them. This guy is quite the character. I remember when some of the Bayonetta news came out. Apparently he's got like rules to respond to him, and if you don't, like I'm gonna block you. Like, it's like no ifs, ands, or buts, and it's like, wow, what a dick. But I kind of respect that, I kind of thought he'd be a lifer, especially because of the types of games that they make. I'm interested to see what happens, what comes from this, right? Like, I prefer him over someone like Suda51. Suda51 is like quirky in his own right, but it's not my kind of kink.
a bit too esoteric for your taste.
Yeah, just a little bit, right? Like, I like what Kamiya kind of I like his headspace in terms of what he creates or helps create. So yeah, okay. I mean, I'm interested. I will keep my eyes peeled, as his Twitter hopes or suggests that I do.
All right. So that's the news for this week. Again, we'll take one more quick break for ads, and then we'll be back with the post office. All right, so let's take a little trip to the Dense Pixels post office. Just a reminder, you can go to densepixels.com/fans, join our Discord, and post questions that we will answer on the show. And we will start with Jamal, who asked one of my favorite questions we've ever gotten. Because it's an interesting question. With so many good and divisive games releasing this year, do you think the classic IGN way of scoring games out of 10 is outdated? Should we move to a more word-of-mouth type system of reviewing games where the reviewer recommends a game if the person likes certain qualities of the game, like gameplay loop, graphics, story, etc.?
I made a failed attempt on this network to not score movies, because if you can boil your thoughts down to a number, like it probably isn't something worth like talking about. Like there are that's why they have written reviews. I know Polygon refuses to do scores, right? Like
same with Eurogamer as well. They don't do scores.
Yeah, like if you want a review, read the review. But what most people do is they will jump straight to the end to see the score, to see what their preconceived, to see if the reviewer matches their preconceived notion for what they think this is. And I hate it.
There's a board game reviewer whose name is Dan Thoreau, who writes some of the most like high-minded. It's literally prose that he's writing, reviewing board games. Like it's some of the most intelligent reviews that I've ever seen, and I'm an avid subscriber to his blog because I really enjoy just his style that he reviews games with. And I remember I saw on Board Game Geek, I looked at one of his reviews for a game, and the first comment below, he's like I hate to bother, but like it would really be helpful if you could assign a score to these games when you're done, at the end of your review, because without a score, like I have no way of knowing like whether or not you actually liked the game, because he doesn't like sit there and just tell you like, oh, I think that his thoughts are more much more encompassing. And I'm just like, bro, like that would completely defeat the purpose of this review. Like if you want to know if you liked something or not, like fucking read it. I would love for game companies not to have to score reviews anymore. To Micah's point, when there is a score, the review gets boiled down to a number, and oftentimes the number, like what people infer from the number, the score that was given to the game, doesn't even really match up what was in the review. Like people see like a 7.5 and they're like, oh, this game sucks. Whereas because they we've been ingrained with through school, right, that a 7 is a C, right? I really hate the 10-point scale. I really hate the 10-point scale, because like if things aren't 80 or above, it's garbage, right? But of course the problem with the 5-point scale or the 4-star scales, that there's not as much room for nuance in rating something. So
which is why they shouldn't be numbers. I don't even like scoring. I don't even like scoring movies that way. Do I recommend it or I don't? That's why Siskel and Ebert, they had the thumbs up and thumbs down.
Yeah.
Do I recommend it? Yes. Here's why. Do I not recommend it? No. Here's why.
Yeah.
Like, I hate review scores, and people get mad, especially at IGN, that they got mad at XPlay about this all the time. Everything was either a 3 out of 5 or everything's a 7 out of 10. Well, guess what, folks? That's what most things are. Most things are just kind of average.
Yeah.
Like there aren't that many 10 out of 10s. Look at all you ugly people walking around breathing air. You're not a 10 out of 10. You're not an 8. You're a 5 on a good day. So, you can't get mad at these companies at these publications for putting out 7s all the time And then if they don't, then you'll be like, well, how am I supposed to know? How am I supposed read it? Read it. Read it. Find a reviewer that you jive with and get their recommendations. Yeah. I do it. I don't take too many. I take movie recommendations from Jay. I take game recommendations from Brad. I take comedy recommendations from Terrence. I'll take anime recommendations from 2 people. And that's it, because they know what I like. And that's how you do it.
Yeah.
You can't, everything just can't be boiled down to a score. And then I'm sorry, I really hate numbered scores.
We found a trigger for Mike.
I fucking hate them. They I've seen people say, well, this reviewer always scores this. That way, like if a specific reviewer reviews a game, well, that's just this person's review. Nope. It's all of IGN. All of IGN's review. Every single person, they're a monolith, and they all think that. Like, nah, like people don't know how it works. I hate review scores. I hate Rotten Tomatoes. I hate Metacritic. Nobody knows how Rotten Tomatoes works.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is that as much as we are in agreement that we should do away with numbered scores, or with scores, I should say. We won't, because aggregators have never been more influential,
right,
than they have.
It's in marketing
to the point where, again, like to this day, like I remember this was a controversy 10 plus years ago with Fallout New Vegas. The Saints, like the Saints Row reboot last year, had bonuses tied to Metacritic scores for the developers. Like that's still a thing that game companies are doing nowadays. Which is insane, because, again, some of the top outlets, some of the most notable outlets of game reviewers don't score games. People who arguably have probably more influence than they've ever had, like with like YouTubers and things of that nature, don't score games. Like they talk about their thoughts and they give like full length reviews, and it's up to you, the viewer, to listen to the whole thing to get their opinion. But again, we live in a society that likes to assign numbers to things, and likes to assign scores to things. So, unfortunately,
you know what else I hate?
Yeah.
What else I hate? I hate. Well, if an RTS gets a 10 out of 10, but a first person shooter gets a 7. Oh, this RTS, you think this is better than this? Yo, it's 2 totally different games, yo. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And like, if a game that was reviewed 10 years ago gets 10 out of 10, and now with new technology, and all the advancements of technology, a game of similar genre gets a 9 out of 10. Well, you think that this was better back then, so this is trash. Like, nah, that's not how it works. Nobody knows how to treat a fucking review right.
Right.
So they shouldn't be scored.
Correct. Yeah, just review games based on the game itself. Don't assign a number to it. But again, it's something we can't get away from. You know what I miss, Micah? I miss the Game Pro 5-point scale in each category of being like bad, good, like okay, good, rad, and whatever the 5. I don't remember what the 5.0 was, but it was like the dude with the explodey head, kind of thing. Yeah, so that's the score. That's the scale that I miss. And there you go. Like, you can, like, if you really want to put numbers on stuff, don't put an overall score in a game. Review the specific facets of the game. Like, if you really need to score something, then just assign numbers to like the individual facets. It's not preferred, but it's better than just tagging a number on the whole thing. So, Anthony says, what kind of music do you listen to in your daily goings-ons, and how do you find new music? It's a hard question for me to answer, because I literally 95% of what I listen to is podcasts. Like I listen to very little music. I've also reached the point in my life where I have jumped off the new music bandwagon. Like, I have settled into the music that I like. And that is where I live. My preferred genre is probably 90s alternative, because that's what I grew up with. But where do I find new music? Funnily enough, video games is probably how I discover most of my new music in this day and age.
Um, yeah, I'm much like you. I have settled. I don't listen to new music. I'm not one of those people that's like, what are these? Rap back in my day was like this. Now rap now is like, what? Huh? Like, you old. You're old. You're old. Right? Like, it's fine. It's fine. We all grow older. Just don't listen to it. I listen to. I don't listen to a lot. I got to be in a mood to watch, to listen to like New Jack Swing. Like that's my version of '90s alternative. Is a bunch of New Jack Swing, but the stuff that I listen to most was influenced by an anime that came out in the mid 2000s called Samurai Champloo, and it was a bunch of like hip hop, instrumental, jazz fusion type music. From creators like Nujabes and Kenichiro Nishihara and Madlib and I forget the other dude's name. But yeah, that's the type of music that I listen to. I don't want words in my music. I want trip hop, chill out, mood music.
Yeah, and I've defaulted that too, because like I don't like to read without having ambience on in the background, that kind of stuff. So like that's what I listen to a lot of too. It's just a lot of like ambiotic music, just for settling myself in a mood for reading a book or what have you.
Jay Dilla. Jay Dilla is the other person I listen to a lot. Well, I used to listen to. He's dead now, but yeah.
Way to bring the mood down. Beneficent One says, with the release of Separate Ways and it having more of Wesker, should Capcom continue with the numbered remakes or go back to RE1 and Code Veronica so we can have a Wesker trilogy for the current game generation? They should probably go back and at least revisit Code Veronica. They won't, because Capcom likes to make money. And Code Veronica does not have the same level of nostalgic love that the numbered RE games have. So
wasn't that like another child villain in Code Veronica? I can't remember. They all went together.
Yes, and RE0 also was a thing as well. So
yeah, I remember Resident Evil 0, where it was Rebecca, was that her name? Rebecca, and that criminal that she was shackled with. Yeah, Code Veronica was I actually really like Code Veronica.
It's well rated, but I think that it never had the mainstream success that the other games did, and so it'd be pretty tough to go back to it, I think, especially when we're about to get to boulder punching and new 3D graphics. So
oh, I can't wait for that. I can't wait for it. They better not just all of a sudden be a bunch of white people in a Resident Evil 5 remake. Nah, black people can be villains too.
T-Wash asks, what is the most ridiculous match you've ever seen? For them, it has to be the tag team of Vince and Shane McMahon versus Shawn Michaels and God. Now, when you say ridiculous match, like, I need to know, like, do you mean the premise of the match before it happened was ridiculous, or the actual match itself was ridiculous? Because the actual...
I got them both.
Well, so for me, like, the actual match itself that was the most ridiculous has to be Shawn Michaels versus Hulk Hogan at SummerSlam 2005, aka the most overselling you will ever see in a match, literally for the rest of your life.
I believe I heard Shawn Michaels' performance described as an octopus in a washing machine.
Now, as far as the premise goes, Shawn Michaels tag teaming with God is good. I think one of my favorites, and this is kind of along the same lines, is when Too Cool once wrestled Al Snow and Head, which was the mannequin head that Al Snow used to carry around. And Too Cool won the match quite ingeniously by sticking a bottle of Head and Shoulders into the bottom of the mannequin head. So now that the head had shoulders, and they could pin the head to win the match.
The correct answer for ridiculous match and ridiculous premise is the Invisible Man versus Invisible Stan. They're brothers, and it was refereed by Bryce Remsburg, who now works for AEW, and it is Bryce Remsburg pantomiming, refereeing a match between two invisible people, and it's 10 minutes of him like pretending that people are hitting each other, right? And getting down and doing like two counts and false finishes. At one point, he goes up on a balcony because that's where the two invisible men were, and one throws the other off of the balcony, and he's just like, oh, and then he runs down. And the one thing they do, there's a table set up in the corner. The one thing they do is they do an invisible table spot. And I'm sure they have something like on the table, but the Invisible Man throws his brother Invisible Stan into the actual table,
and it breaks,
and the table breaks, and he counts to 3.
Oh my god!
And look, it's one of the best. It's one of the best things about being a wrestling fan. It's one of the most embarrassing things about being a wrestling fan, right? Because like the crowd is into it, right? They are chanting. They are in it. When they do the balcony fall, the entire crowd just plays along and just
holy shit chants,
they all fall, and they're just like holy shit and fuck you Stan. Like it's like they are into it, right? That's the cool part. The bad part is that like we can never get this type of unity for anything serious.
No,
like it's just we only unify to do something so incredibly stupid as to watch Bryce Remsburg referee an Invisible Man wrestling match. Just Google Invisible Man wrestling match. You'll find it. It's only like 10 minutes. It's ridiculous.
You know what's actually worse? Like in the realm of the serious, any blindfold match ever. What a stupid premise for a match. The two competitors can't see each other. Oh my god. How can they wrestle? They can't. That's the point. Fucking idiots. Ejac asks, when playing first-person shooters, do you lean more towards shotties or sniper rifles? Depends on the game.
No, it don't depend on the game for me. I've never had a steady hand when it comes to shooting sniper rifles. So I'm not really a shotgun guy. I'm more of a submachine gun, assault type of person. Like run around looking for people to kill me. But if it's between those two, I'll take shotguns.
Yeah. I do shotguns in most games, but weirdly enough, in Destiny 2, like I was actually fairly decent with sniper rifles, which is not an easy game to snipe in necessarily. So, but I typically don't gravitate towards sniper rifles. Finally, Cam asks, Jade Cargill is officially with the WWE. If you had the pencil, how would you yourself personally book her debut? I knew the answer to this question immediately, and I thought it was an unfortunate happenstance that Bianca Belair took time off a month ago, because I could not think of a better way to write her out for her to take time away than to have Jade Cargill come in and just beat the shit out of her and set yourself up for a money match, which again, like as soon as the signing was official, that's the money match that everybody is booking is Jade Cargill versus Bianca Belair. So like you could have easily set the stake in the ground for that money match and done that. So that would have been ideal in my mind. Given what they have to work with today, it depends on what you want to do with her. Like if you want to push her right away and make her a big star immediately, then you have to have her going up against one of your standard bearers in that women's division. What's probably going to happen is she's probably going to have her first match on like SmackDown against Natalya, and she'll beat Natalya, and it'll just kind of be a very ho hum way to begin her WWE career. So
I know everybody wants to see Jade Cargill versus Bianca Belair, because people just want to see black women fight each other, and that is not me. No, I do want to see that match eventually. That's got to be long down the road, though. I think if they are going to, well, okay, I need Jade Cargill. I like Jade Cargill. She seems like a nice person. I need her to get some more like ring time before we see her, because they're making a big deal about signing Jade Cargill. So I need her to be ready, right? And if I had my druthers, I would keep her away and train her and get her reps until she comes into the Royal Rumble. I'm a sucker for a Royal Rumble debut. So in this Royal Rumble, I would have Jade's long-term rival be Charlotte Flair, because they are, if assuming they're going to keep Jade's, personality from AEW to here to WWE. I think Charlotte comes in, she's doing what she does, right? Charlotte wins law, right? Here comes Jade. They go at it for a few minutes. Shenanigans happen. Jade throws Charlotte out. Charlotte can't stand it. Like, that's it. Like, fuck you forever, right? And I want those two to have the long-term rivalry, because I think they're two sides of the same coin, right? They're both tall. They're both very athletic. One's built like a brick house and the other one's built like a balsa wood house, right? Like it's they are two sides of the same coin, and I think that's like a good dynamic. They could be they could be bitter rivals, frenemies, right? They could. I see them having an MJF Adam Cole type relationship. Like when that eventually blows up, I don't know. It's something about those two together. I think they could work really well. And I think Charlotte is a good enough wrestler that she could hide whatever faults Jade might have coming into WWE. So yeah, her versus Charlotte.
I will say, if you're Tony Khan, you have to be a little annoyed, because if you look at it, like how many guys have WWE cut loose that you've been excited to get, and for one reason or another, those guys, with the exception of like John Moxley and Daniel Bryan, those guys have just been like at best languishing on your mid card, and yet like the two people that WWE have gotten from AEW are two of the biggest fucking stars that AEW has ever produced, and they got their, and not that Cody Rhodes didn't build himself before AEW, but Jade Cargill was made by AEW essentially, made a star by AEW, and literally the first opportunity she had to dip, she was like, I'm going over there.
Jade gives me Rock vibes in that I see her. I think she's got ambitions beyond wrestling.
Yeah.
And I think she will do her, 7-8 years, however long The Rock was there. I think she'll do her 7-8 years or whatever, just to become like this mainstream name, right? They're letting her keep her name, yo. Yeah. They're letting her keep her name.
I knew that was one of the first things that stood out to me as well, is that they're like, no, like this is, they are buying into the Jade Cargill dynamic,
right?
Like the whole fucking thing, like the same way when Cody came back, they let him keep his whole persona, his music and ring gear and everything like that. It's like it all stayed the same.
I think she's got some aspirations beyond WWE. I hope she does. I hope she is better in ring than from what I remember seeing her. I didn't see her last match, but I hope they don't. I hope they put her against real competition. And not
her quality of opponent's going to be generally
it's gonna
better.
be leaps and bounds better.
Yeah.
It's gonna be leaps and bounds better.
Which
Like, no offense to those women,
Yeah.
like they don't get enough. They don't get enough reps. They get one match a week.
yeah.
They get one match a week.
And here's the funny thing: I don't see any way possible that the same thing's not going to happen next year when MJF is available. Like WWE is going to just throw a fucking
they're gonna be
bag of money down in front of him because he's still probably going to be hot. I can't imagine he's not going to be. And MJF strikes me as a guy that wants to be on the big stage. Like he wants to be at the WrestleMania.
He grew up watching WWE,
right?
Like, like, come on, yo. Like, he's about to be in a movie. He's about to be in Iron Claw as one of the Von Erichs, yo. Like, it's like a bit part, but like he's gonna be there. So yeah. And WWE knows that, and they want that. He's such a like breath of fresh air, I guess. He's such an old school throwback that like people are going gaga over it because they're not used to seeing it. I like that dude. I like that dude a lot.
Yep. All right. Well, again, don't forget to submit your questions to us by going to denspixels.com/fans. And that is going to wrap up the show for this week. Thank you guys, as usual, very much for watching and listening, and we will see you all the next time.
See ya.
You're watching the Dense Pixels YouTube channel. Click the subscribe button while you're here and make sure you check out our weekly podcast where we discuss the latest gaming news and our impressions on what games we've been playing.